Hey guys, what's up? So one of the most commonly asked question by the aspirant is Israel-Palestine issue. Before I start, I'd like to say that this issue is very controversial. These statements which I'll be making, they are not mine, they are made by leading historians. And the issue has been presented from an academic and historical perspective and not a political one. Okay, so let's get started. So this is your entire world's map. Here you can see America, South America, Caribbean islands, Africa. This entire region is called as Middle East. So this is like the prime meridian somewhere here. Okay, this entire portion is east, this entire portion is west. So since it is in the middle of the east, that is why it is called as Middle East. Okay, so let's further zoom in. So as you can see, these are the major countries: Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, UAE, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and this is our Israel. Can you see here? This is Dead Sea, this blue color stuff. Let's zoom in further, and so this is a Google map. So this is your Jordan River. Oh, sorry, Jordan country. This is your Jordan River. Since this portion is in west of the Jordan River, it is called as West Bank. Okay, it is on the west bank of the Jordan River. This desert here is called as Negev Desert, Negev, Negev Desert. This strip, since it is a strip of a land, it's called as Gaza Strip. It shares large boundary with Israel, a very short boundary with Egypt, and this here is called as Golan Heights. It is shared between Syria and Israel in the present day context. So let's see what is the issue. Let's see it in entirety. So there are basically four major areas. This entire issue can be in with these four major areas. First is the conflict over Jerusalem. It is one of the most important thing. Then wars, origin and recognition of Israel. And third is the settlements. And fourth is the one state versus two state solution. Okay, sir and ma'am, please focus very hard because it is a complicated issue. So the Holy Jerusalem. Okay, so this is important because you need to know that the church, the mosque, the wall, and the epicenter of the three major religions. Okay. So now let's see. So while it has been often the focus of stories of division and conflict among people of different religions, they are united in their reverence for this holy ground. And known in Hebrew as Jerusalem and in Arabic as Al-Quds, it is one of the oldest city in the world. Okay, so this is Jerusalem. At its core is the old city. Okay, this is the old city where I'm taking you. It is a maze of narrow alleyways, historic architecture that characterize its four quarters: the Christian quarter, the Muslim quarter, the Jewish quarter, and the Armenian quarter. And it is surrounded by a fortress like stone wall, and it is home to some of the holiest sites in the world. The first, let's talk about church. So inside the Christian quarter, you have the Church of Holy Sepulchre. Okay, it is a significant focus for Christians all over the world. It is believed that Jesus Christ died here, he was crucified here, and he resurrected here. It is also called as Golgotha or the hill of Calvary. Okay. Second is the Muslim, the mosque. Okay, the Muslim quarter is the largest of the four, as you can see by the size also. And is the third holiest site in Islam after Makkah and Medina. It is called as Dome of Rock or Al-Aqsa Mosque. Okay, and it is made on a plateau known to Muslims as Haram al-Sharif or the Noble Sanctuary. And Muslim believes that the Prophet Muhammad traveled here from Makkah during his night journey and prayed with the souls of all the prophets. And a few steps away, the shrine of the Dome of the Rock holds the foundation stone. Then the third is the wall, which is the Jewish quarter. It is also home to the Kotel or the Western Wall, which is a remnant of the retaining wall of the mount on which the Holy Temple once stood. Okay? So inside the temple was the Holy of the Holies, the most sacred site in the Judaism. Okay, so this is the Western Wall. Here you can see this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is the Dome of the Rock, and so many Jews believe the Dome of the Rock is the site of the Holy of the Holies. And today the Western Wall is the closest place Jews can pray to the Holy of Holies. So this is a place that forms the epicenter of three major religions in the world, which constitute almost more than half of the population of the entire world. Okay, Christianity plus Islam combined. So numerous wars have been fought throughout ancient and medieval times, and let us jump to the 20th century, which was the era of nation states, which is the most relevant for our purpose. Okay, so till now you are with me. So let's talk about the Holocaust. So everybody of you might have heard about the World War II. So it is called as the Endlösung. So Endlösung is a term which was used by Hitler, which he termed as the final solution of the Jewish problem. So between 1941, when the first Jews were were killed in Poland, and 1945 when the Germany surrendered, between these 4 years, approximately 6 million Jews, obviously nobody knows the exact figure, but assuming 60 lakh Jews were killed. Now there are multiple theories and interpretation of Hitler's intentions. but those are absolutely not relevant here. So can you imagine like the what people will be thinking in their head ki oh my god, these all things have happened, and like it is totally chaotic. So there are multiple theories and interpretation of Hitler's intention. So overall, the Hitler and the system around him, they were created on the idea that Germany's survival was contingent on annihilation of the Jews. Somehow he had this notion in his head that Germany will not be able to survive if the Jews are there. So he wanted to exterminate them because he thought of various reasons. So if you ever have time to read some literature on Holocaust, it will show you the horrible things one human being is capable of doing to another human being. It's so bad. If anybody knows if anybody heard from a Holocaust survivor, it is very painful. So with these 2 points clear, okay, let us move forward and see the major dimensions of the issues till today. So these are things are clear, Jerusalem and Holocaust. Now let's see the multiple players. First of all, it is very important to note that the issue is very complicated with multiple players at multiple levels of hierarchy. First, there are global powers. This comprises of USA, UK, and Soviet mainly, which is now Russia. Second, they are the regional powers. Okay, so Saudi Arabia Sunni versus Iran Shia. So Sunni is the majority in the Saudi Arabia, while in Iran it is Shia. And then there is a national and the subnational forces, that is Israel versus Palestinian administrators. Also, it is very important that the Arab states desire to develop their region. So, the idea is to achieve economic and political unity. And if any Western power is present here, nobody likes it. I'm telling you, they hate it. Any Western presence, there has always been resented here. And everybody of us knows that why the Westerns are attracted over here. It is because of two main things. First is the passage from Asia to Europe is very easy from here through Suez Canal, which is the in Egypt, and second is the oil. The Middle East is the by far the largest producer of oil in the world, and that is why the Western powers are always attracted over here. Now, actually, the history starts. So, I am talking about last 3,000, 4,000 years ago. Jewish people think that this is their homeland. Okay, they have a strong belief in it. The Jews had been driven out in ancient history and medieval history by different forces from Jerusalem and surrounding area, and that is why they had dispersed all over the world from ancient and medieval India. So, but they became an important force during the capitalist era of 19th century. They were having a lot of banks. They were trader communities. They had a lot of money with them. They were very intelligent. Like almost half of the Nobel Prize in the 20th century in like major sciences went to Jews. So you can realize the intelligence and the clout these communities carry. The Jewish banking houses were instrumental to the process of capital formation in USA in the late 19th and early 20th century. Modern banking in entire Europe and United States was influenced by Jewish financiers. You might be knowing richest family. One of the richest family in the world is Rothschild family. It's a Jewish family. Warburg family. They are also Jewish, and Jews were major contributors to the establishment of important investment banks on Wall Street. So you realize their importance. Now in 1897, World Zionist Movement organization, it was formed in Switzerland, which demanded that Jews deserve to have a Jewish state and a national homeland in Palestine from where they had been driven out earlier. Okay. Even in the 19th century, Jews had faced persecution in Russia, France, Germany. Forget about World War II, they were always persecuted. So now this World Zionist organization, like this obviously alarmed the Arabs in Palestine कि भाई Israelis, rather Jews will come here and storm our thing. Then the League of Nations come into the picture. So the League of Nations mandate system was, so after the First World War, the Allies, which were the Allies? Everybody should know the name of the Allies. I'll make a separate video on World War One. That is the Britain, France, Russia, US, and Italy. They decided to implement the mandate system, okay, to control the territories of Germany and Ottoman Empire. Now in 1919, Palestine became the mandate of Britain. Now comes the interesting turn. Okay, so British declared the agenda of a Jewish state here in Palestine, leading to large scale immigration of Jews into Palestine. So it makes more sense, right? Since now you are officially declared as a Jewish state, so Jews all across the world, from USA, from Europe, from Asia, Russia, they all started coming to this place called as Palestine because British declared it the Jewish state in Palestine. So obviously when Jewish people came, so this result in the initiation of the conflict with the Arabs. Arabs did not like it, obviously. Now throughout the 1930s, there was widespread persecution of Jews all over Europe, and it caused large scale immigration into Palestine. Now the 1930s also saw widespread violent opposition by the Arabs in Palestine against settlement of Jews. So after Balfour Declaration of 1917, it was declared as a Jewish state, and throughout the 1930s, persecution caused more and more migration. And finally, in 1937, there was a commission called as the British Peel Commission. It recommended the bifurcation of Palestinian state into two states. So people think and people claim that this commission was forms the basis of the two-state solution, which is today. But this was completely rejected by both the Arabs, and later it was also rejected by the Jews. So till now the picture is clear. So let's see further. So these are the present borders, but you don't need to worry about it. So we'll continue the discussion in the part 2. So let us continue our discussion on Israel-Palestine issue. So, as we saw earlier, the World War II brought with it the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were exterminated. And in November 1947, United Nations voted to divide the Palestine into two states. That is obviously Israel and Palestine. So, like Britishers, they left the situation into the hands of UN, and UN thought that this is the best possible solution. And in 1948, British they decided to withdraw militarily before Israel could be completely established as a nation state. Okay, so in 1948 the Britishers left before it can become as a complete state. Now in May 1948, the Arab states did not recognize it, and they thought that it is the best time to attack Israel. And Israel was independent in May 1948, just 1 year after India, and they attacked it immediately, hoping to destroy it. Now, in the war of 1948, this is the first Arab Israel war. The Israel won and it captured more territory, despite the fact that Israel is very, very small and Arabs were huge in numbers as well as area. The worst affected were the Palestinians, who, within a year of their formation, they had lost two-thirds of their territory and had now become part of either Israeli state or part of West Bank, which was under Jordan's control in 1948. Okay, so this was the issue with the Palestinians. So can you see, this is the map of Israel. Now this is Sea of Galilee. This is the holy city of Jerusalem. So after 1948, you can see this is the Jewish state, which is huge now. Okay, and this is the Arab state. So as you can see, Jerusalem was to be governed as an international city, and this is the Dead Sea. So this is Jordan here. This is the technically the West Bank region, and this is somewhere here is your present day Gaza Strip. Okay, and this is Golan Heights, Syria, etc. So as you can see, Jewish state, you can still see the Arab state in its prominence. Okay, now wars and agreements. Now we will discuss the Suez Canal crisis of 1956. So this war is a major event in world history. Please prepare it well. It is not directly relevant to our discussion here, so I am just bypassing it. Just know what happened, that Nasser was Egypt's ruler. You must have heard his name in non-aligned movement. He nationalized the Suez Canal, which was till that point was under the Britishers. So obviously Britishers did not like it, and they got support from French, and they supported Israel. So British and French, they supported Israel, and Israel attacked Egypt. Overall, the situation was a victory for Egypt, and the tension between the Israelis and the Arab world continued to build. So this was your Suez Canal crisis of 1956. Is it clear? Moving forward, there was Six-Day War in 1967. In 1967, the Arab leaders thought that they could surround Israel in coordination and attack, rapidly destroying it. So Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, all of them mobilized their troops. Now Israel was surrounded and it was staring at existential crisis, because so many huge countries, big countries had surrounded it in the Six-Day War of 1967, and it could have been annihilated completely. So getting the information of the troop mobilization, they decided to attack first. Now they captured Golan Heights from Syria, they captured West Bank from Jordan, they captured Sinai, which is Sinai Peninsula is under Egypt, but they captured it, and the Gaza Strip also. So all these territories now they acted as buffers. ठीक है, मतलब it is not, they were not directly allowed entry into Israel, but they were acting as a buffer against aggressive states around Israel. Now the rapid military victory for Israel, it was a massive slap to all the Arab states, and this is the war where Israel came into possession of Gaza Strip and West Bank, and this added nearly 1 million Arabs into Israel. Million matlab 10 lakhs. Now you must be knowing about Palestine Liberation Organization (PLO) under Yasser Arafat. So the problem of PLO and Israeli settlements, it starts after this. Okay, so Israel also captured East Jerusalem and now possesses the entire Jerusalem. So after Six-Day War of 1967, Israel was a power to be reckoned with. Everybody in the entire world recognized Israel, their power and their influence. So this was very important step in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Then came Yom Kippur of 1973. Okay, so Sadat, who was the leader of Egypt, thought that Israel could be destroyed, and significant pressure was applied by the Palestine Liberation Organization under Yasser Arafat. So Egyptians, they got the weapons from Soviet, that is USSR, and they felt confident that they can wipe out Israel easily. So Egypt plus Syria, they combined together and they attacked Israel. But like last time in Six-Day War of 1967 and the first Israel-Arab War of 1948, they were defeated again by Israel. So after this war, everybody realized by Arab mein कि Israel could not be destroyed by force. So they, Arab states, especially Egypt, decided to negotiate for settlement, leading to the major event. Now next major event is Treaty of Camp David of 1978. So this treaty had the following provisions: that Israel agreed to withdraw its military from Sinai Peninsula in return for Egypt's promise to not attack it anymore, and it will supply oil also to Israel and let Israel use the Suez Canal. So it was an unstable, but it was some sort of peace was achieved because of this. But Israel still had a long distance before it could sign similar peace treaties with Syria and Jordan, because the problem there was much bigger. The problem was that Israel had refused to return Golan Heights taken from Syria in 1967. In Six-Day War, Golan Heights was taken, and at this point of time till today, 2/3 of the Golan Heights is under Syria and 1/3 is under 2/3 is under Israel and 1/3 is in Syria. So this Golan Heights served as a critical buffer, and it refused straight away that no independent Palestinian state would ever be possible. So this was the statement of Israel. Now, a major problem that emerged was that, as we know, West Bank and Gaza were under Israel since 1967. So Israel started building massive settlements and colonies to locate Jews in the territories. So this was an attempt to change the demography, the religion completely, dominate and control all the religions. Thus, it will block the way for any solution which could create independent Palestine. So after this era of huge number of violence, suicide bombings and terrorism by the PLO, that is Palestine Liberation Organization, was created, since they were completely opposed to this treaty. And by this treaty, Israel had been virtually recognized as a state since Egypt negotiated with it on equal terms. So PLO were very furious by this. This was followed by a decade of violence. 10 saal tak there was huge violence, and Israelis continued to build settlements in the West Bank and Jerusalem, areas which were occupied by Arabs. And the policies of the Israel remained based on use of aggression and force, and the behavior of the Israeli troops there was not nice, and in the camps which were hosting the Arabs. So this is the common perception. Okay, so let us move forward. So this was the situation after Six-Day War of 1967. This was the Golan Heights that was taken from Syria. This was the West Bank that was taken from Jordan. This is the Jerusalem which was taken entirely. Sinai Peninsula which was in Egypt, and it was demilitarized by Israel in 1978 after Treaty of Camp David. So can you see this small country has taken the larger area than itself, and the entire things were taken. So these were the territories which are captured by Israel after Six-Day War. So if you make this kind of maps in the exam, people love it. So let us move forward. So finally, 1987, large-scale civil disobedience movement broke out in Arab areas of West Bank and Gaza. So protest, non-payment of taxes, boycott of Israeli products, they were initiated, and Israel responded with massive crackdown. Okay, and it received worldwide condemnation for its violence. So the Intifada, or it is also called a shaking off, it continued for 3 years, and it strained the economies of both Israel and Palestinians in the West Bank. Then comes Oslo Accords of 1993. So can you please tell me which Oslo is the capital of an European country in the Scandinavia? Can you please tell me the name of the country in the comments? So an important thing to remember is that the peace process and the Israel-Palestine issue has been widely varying over time. And a major reason behind it is that there are diverse political opinions between extremists to moderates in both Israel and Palestine. So the party that comes into power in Israel also influences significantly the peace process. So in 1993, moderates came into power in Israel, and they felt that some sort of peace was necessary after 2 decades of violence and terrorism. So they decided to negotiate with the PLO and Yasser Arafat, and finally this culminated into what is known as the Oslo Accords. And provisions were that Israel recognized PLO, and PLO recognized the existence of Israel and agreed to give up terrorism, and it should limited self rule was to be given to Palestinians in Jericho, in West Bank and parts of Gaza Strip, and Israel will agree to withdraw its military from most of West Bank. So this was the Oslo Accords. But this attempt at peace, which was essentially based on one state with limited self rule for Palestinians, it was opposed by other extremists. Okay. Now, Arafat died in 2004, and also the extremist organization of Hamas came into power in Gaza. So, multiple factions and infighting has emerged within the PLO. So, it led to failure of Oslo Accords. So, the Oslo Accords were bound to fail because it did not address the most important question. So, there was no agreement on Jerusalem's status. So, this is the most important stuff. So, we already saw Jerusalem's importance earlier, and there was no discussion on the forced Israeli settlements in the areas Israel occupied in 1967, such as Gaza and West Bank. These are the two important stuff which they did not touch. Now, Al-Aqsa Intifada 2. So in 2000, another full-scale uprising erupted, which was called as Al-Aqsa. Okay, so it is the mosque in the Jerusalem, and Al-Aqsa Intifada. So in response to this, the Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, they started building a protective wall around the West Bank, and this resulted in some Arab villages being cornered on the side of Israelis, while Jewish settlements were created in West Bank. So till date, this wall and the settlement, they have been a major point of conflict in this issue. So the overall approach of Israel has fluctuated from one extreme to tough military actions, and on the other extreme, they allow some self-rule for Palestinians. So that today the issue has become very, 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 very problematic with Benjamin Netanyahu taking a hardline stance and pushing the settlements aggressively into West Bank and Jerusalem. Also, the Netanyahu government has taken a hardline stance and is refusing to allow for a two-state settlement, that is allowing a separate state for Arabs in Palestine and a Jewish state. And the approach of Donald Trump government is yet to be seen as on the most of the issues. So usually USA has been a supporter of Israel. So presumably it will be continued, but the approach of Trump government is yet to be seen. So these are the present day borders. So this is the Sinai Peninsula, which is again went back to Egypt. So it is currently administered by Egypt. Here is the West Bank. Okay. So it is Palestinian National Authority. These are the Golan Heights, but it is administered by Israel. And Gaza Strip is administered by Hamas. And it is a very small border with Egypt. This is the Negev Desert. And this here is Jerusalem. And this is surrounded by a wall. This is Jordan, and this is Syria, this is Dead Sea, where people will float till, because it's not possible, because it is a very saline sea and the density of the water is high. So I hope you have understood the issue. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments. Do go to unacademy.com for awesome lessons and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this. Have an awesome day.